Hello again, welcome back. So another set of questions that I've got made me realize that I made some assumptions and had a bit of a critical error in not explaining those assumptions outright. So what I want to do today is talk about some of the preparedness strategies that we have and different strategies that you can implement yourself. I've said before in some of the earlier videos that I prefer people build, buy, and use things that are going to be useful to them. It makes no sense to purchase prepackaged items or kits or just buy things that you think you're going to use that don't fit in with your overall strategy. So the point of this video today is just to get you thinking about what should I do to begin preparing if you haven't already, and then also answer some of the questions about, I saw this item on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something like that, or I saw this cool ad and I'm thinking of buying it, and is that something I should do? I can't answer those questions, but one thing that I can do is help get you thinking about what you want to prepare for. Are you preparing for a long-term event, or are you preparing for maybe a week-long power outage? That's really what I'm trying to get everybody to kind of focus on is, hey, there's a week-long power outage. What can I do to prepare for that? You can scale that forward or back as much as you need, but the idea is that everybody just gets thinking about what they need to do in the event that you need to eat, drink, and just do everyday life. So the first strategy that I want to talk about is, we'll call it the manual strategy. So the manual strategy is one of the ones that you might want to adopt if you have a large labor force, like you've got a whole bunch of kids. Maybe you have a lot of acreage, you live out on a farm, and you have a ready supply of cheap labor in your children. If that's you, this might be one of the strategies that you want to adopt. It focuses on less electricity, more horse and buggy, and hand-powered or human-powered things, right? So whether it comes to planting your crops or getting water or repairing things around the homestead, this might be the strategy to take. The advantage of doing something like this, it's lower cost. So if budget is a constraint, you can also adopt this even if you don't have a lot of labor, but you're looking at, I don't have a lot of money. Look for things without electric motors, right? That's one way to do it. Or maybe look at using air tools instead of electric tools, right? Lots of different things for this. One of the things with this, one of the drawbacks of doing everything manually is that it takes a lot more time. It requires more labor, and also it is harder to have multiple items in case one breaks. I like to live by the adage, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So if you have something like a hand drill that breaks, do you have a spare one? I mean, they're typically bulkier and larger and require more storage space. If you have your own homestead and a large barn, that's an easy thing to store multiple tools just to have them as backups. But again, that's just one of the drawbacks, as well as the amount of time it takes. The advantage is these tools are often extremely simple and very easy to fix on your own. Having things like multiple drills, files, clamps, things like that allow you to fix things a lot more quickly than if you had, say, automated tools, mechanized tools that have electric motors, which we'll get into that strategy next. But again, this is a great strategy to adopt if you have the space and the labor force. So the next strategy is the mechanical strategy, which we could really call it more of the electrical strategy, but mechanical is probably a more accurate term. This strategy is one where maybe you don't have the labor force like you did with the other one, or maybe you don't have the large environment like a homestead. Maybe you live in a suburban area, in which case you might want to look at having backup power supplies. Not saying that you don't necessarily want to have those with the manual strategy, but that's more the focal for this mechanical strategy, where you have different energy storing opportunities or mechanisms like a solar panel or hydro or wind, and you use those mechanical strategies to basically power a battery bank that allows you to power things like, security cameras, your well, or charge your radios, that sort of thing. Power your TV. Things to consider with this. If you do decide to go this route, it's going to be more expensive. You have to pay for energy storage, like batteries. If you go with batteries, AGM's a great option. Just as an aside, wind is okay. Solar's good. The sun pretty much shines everywhere. It may not shine as much in some areas versus others, like, say, the West Coast. It gets pretty cloudy out there, but you can still get power. That's part of the strategy when you consider going this route. You might have to get more solar panels. You might have to have a bigger battery bank, again, which will all cost money. But again, that's one of the things you need to consider when you're preparing for power outages, natural disasters, that sort of thing. So just things to think about. Other advantages of this strategy is it doesn't take as much time to get work done, right? You don't have to generate your own power. You just let the collection devices do their thing. Let the storage devices do their thing. That frees you up to do your thing, whatever that ends up being, whether it's house maintenance, going to work, whatever it may be, it frees you up. So again, you save time and you do that at the expense of cost. So again, and that's not to say that the other strategy can't be combined with this, but the point here is to compare and contrast the fact that if you do want to invest heavily in battery backups and power generation, it will cost you on the front side and you'll save it in time on the back side. The last strategy we're going to talk about, and I know this is kind of a blend of the things that we talked about before, but it's also kind of its own thing, but that's the urban strategy. I understand that there are a lot of people who might live in an apartment or even a tiny house, that sort of thing. There are a lot of nomadic people who live in trailers and just travel around. I wanted to kind of address that sort of lifestyle and kind of talk about the strategy around that. So you might not have the ability to store a lot of tools. You may not have the ability to lay out solar panels or energy collection devices, that sort of thing. So what do you do in that case, right? If you're in an apartment in a city and power goes out for a week, what's your goal here, right? And if you are in an apartment that allows you to have a rooftop garden, that's a fantastic thing because you can often collect water on the top of those. You can grow your food. You have a place to decompress if you need to. And then the other thing with that is, storing up things like water, especially water, batteries for your electronic devices, your cell phone, radio. If you don't have a survival radio, I highly recommend you get a survival radio, or at least a NOAA weather radio, and write down the frequencies for your local NOAA radio stations. It doesn't really do any good. Most of the time, those radios will auto-tune to they have a mode that will allow you to auto-tune to the emergency or weather frequencies, but still good idea just to write down the frequencies. There are only like 5 or 6 different frequencies. Write them down so that you can scroll through them and make sure that you're able to listen to emergency alerts and weather and that sort of stuff. Food, canned goods, cans of soup, cans of tuna, cans of meat, cans of fruit, all good things to have stashed away. There's not a lot you can do outside of storing up food and water, but the goal here is to make sure that you have enough food for yourself, your family, your pets. Don't forget your pets. Make sure you have at least a week's worth of food for your pets too. I've been in places that have been in complete free fall and societal collapse, and the goal here is to not be a burden on anybody else. The reason that these places went into complete societal collapse is because people didn't have the resources they needed to get through the emergency situation they were in, which is why I wanted to end on this particular strategy, which is even if you feel like you can't do anything, you can still do something. You can still store up a week's worth of water. You can store up a week's worth of food for you and your pets. You can have tools, even in an apartment environment. You can use tools that have multiple functions. You can still have seeds. You can still plant a small garden if you had to in a cardboard box with some of your water. So there are a lot of different strategies that you can employ even in an urban situation. And My goal here is not to tell you all of the different things to do. My goal is just to get you thinking about these things. Think about what you do on a daily basis. Think about what you would need in a survival situation, be it 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, if there is a power outage or natural disaster, that sort of thing. So again, just things to think about as you kind of go down your preparedness journey, and also just to state the obvious that I failed to do when we started these videos. So again, we've got the manual, the mechanical, the urban. There are probably others, but these are kind of the main ones I wanted to focus on just to get your creative juices going, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks.